proposed
extraterrestrial visitations to Earth, and of course, with that will come UFOs, and we're really going to be talking about UFO cover-up. Our guest today is William Cooper. Bill, would you like to tell us something about your background first of all, and then how you got interested in this subject?
Certainly. I left high school. I did not go into college. I went into the United States Air Force, spent 4 years with the Strategic Air Command. After the Air Force, I went into the Navy. I spent approximately 10 and a half years in the Navy, a total of over 15 years military service. While in the Navy, I was attached to Naval Security and Intelligence. I served in Vietnam. I was attached to the intelligence briefing team of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet, whose headquarters is in Makalapa, Hawaii. And it was there that I saw this information. In fact, one of my superiors at the headquarters of the Commander-in-Chief Pacific Fleet was, who later became Admiral Bobby Ray Inman, who is very significant in all of this government UFO cover-up business. When I had planned to make the service a career, but after I had discovered this information, I could not be a part of it anymore. Left the service, tried very hard not to talk about this, but did on occasion. One result of that was an attempt on my life, which was very nearly successful. I stayed silent for many more years, and just last year began to talk about what I knew. I didn't really get interested in this. It was sort of forced on me. It was dropped in my lap, so to speak, about 18 or 19 years ago. And I feel a duty to tell the American people what I know and try to help them become educated to the fact that extraterrestrial beings are real. They are alien beings from another planet. There are more than one species. UFOs are real. They are the craft that are piloted by these alien beings, which, by the way, we have also come into possession of that technology, and some of the UFOs that people see are actually flown by American pilots. And that the whole thing is sort of nasty in a way and sort of wondrous and beautiful in a way. But anyway, after I left the service, I was involved very heavily in education. I was the chief instructor at Coastal School of Deep Sea Diving in Oakland, California. I was the head of the department of the Mixed Gas Saturation Diving Division of what is now the College of Oceaneering, which is the best, most elite commercial diving school in the world. I have been at various times the heads of the executive director of 3 colleges in the state of California, and just recently resigned my job because the government was putting pressure upon the college because of what I was saying. I'm releasing classified information, and they literally threatened to pull all the federal financial aid programs and federal funding away from the college and the students. So on April 15th, I resigned from the college and have been pursuing this full time so that no one has to suffer for my shenanigans, so to speak. I guess the best place to start is in the beginning. After World War II, we found that the Germans had been in possession of what's called UFO technology. They were actually attempting to duplicate the technology from a UFO or an alien craft that was either given to them or which they recovered. Strongly suspected that Hitler was interacting with the aliens and may be responsible for some of the things that happened during World War II. In any case, we came in possession of the technology when a disc crashed in the desert in New Mexico near Roswell. We found alien bodies. Some accounts say 3, some accounts say 4. I saw pictures of these alien bodies. I saw pictures of the craft, what remained of the craft. This particular craft was almost totally destroyed. I saw pictures of the autopsies, their biology, so to speak. The craft were actually being brought down by our experimentation with high-powered radar after the end of World War II. Somehow the radar interfered with their guidance system. And after the government found this out, they were actually aiming the radar at the craft, trying to bring them down because they were afraid. They didn't know who these beings were or what they were up to, and they wanted the technology, which if you're going to face a threat where they're so technologically superior, then you need to get your hands on that. A major breakthrough came in 1949 when actually two craft crashed, and a live alien was recovered from that craft who was designated EB, which is short for extraterrestrial biological entity. And all aliens are not called EB. This particular one was. And EB lived until June of 1952, at which time he died. And he gave us quite a bit of information about where he was from, what they were doing here, etc. From then on, things sort of escalated. In 1948, they found two craft near the city of Aztec, New Mexico, one on a plateau, one in a place called Hart Canyon. One of them was 20 feet in diameter, the other one was pretty close to 100 feet in diameter. But on both of those craft, they found human body parts, and that's really when the real tight secrecy began. It was secret before. When this happened, it became super secret, and in fact is the most closely guarded secret in the world. And it's not just this country that knows about it. President Truman had informed all of our allies, including the Soviet Union, when we found the first crash disk. And they did this, and they put together a sort of international group, which is now known as the Bilderbergers, to foment plans to protect the Earth in case of invasion and to coordinate international efforts involving the alien question. This has since evolved into a secret world government, which is not too good. In the United States, Eisenhower, through the National Security Council, passed two executive memos, one 5410 and one 5411 in 1954, to put together what is the secret government in this country, called MJ-12 or Majority 12. Literally, it's 6 men from positions in the government, notably the director of the CIA, the director of Federal Bureau of Investigation, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, and a representative of the President, who at this time is the National Security Advisor, and 6 men from the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission, who are known as the Wise Men. All this happened in 1954. Also, there were landings in 1954. One occurred at Holloman Air Force Base, where a basic agreement was reached. An alien was left as a hostage to ensure that they would return and formalize the agreement. His name was Krill. A second landing took place at Edwards Air Force Base. President Eisenhower had arranged to be in Palm Springs. On the day that the meeting took place, he disappeared from the place where he was staying in Palm Springs, and the press went crazy trying to find him. The government told the press that he had a toothache and was taken by helicopter to see a dentist. Well, to this day, they've never located any dentist that saw President Eisenhower on that day, because really secretly he was flown to Edwards Air Force Base for a meeting with the extraterrestrials, where they formalized and signed a formal agreement between this alien nation and the United States of America, which specifically amounted to they wouldn't interfere in our affairs, we wouldn't interfere in theirs. We would keep their presence on Earth a secret. They would furnish us with advanced technology. We would furnish them with underground bases, which were built in the Four Corners area of Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico, and one base in the weapons test range in Nevada called S4 in an area known as Area 51 or Dreamland. Exchange of technology has been going on over all these years, and the secret has been kept from the public. And in the beginning, I think that they did it for a good reason, or what they felt was good reason. They thought that the public would panic and it would result in a breakdown of society, religious and moral structure, and would result in total anarchy. I don't believe that that would happen today because of the alien presence. It might because of something else, but not because of the alien presence. One of the bad things that has come out of all of this is that the aliens are doing genetic experiments on humans and animals. The stories in the films that you see on TV about animal mutilations on the news and in the documentary by Linda Moulton Howe called A Strange Harvest are all true. They are also doing these things to humans, but the government has kept that completely covered up, whereas they have not been so concerned about the secrecy involving the
animals.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It did get quite a lot of publicity. The animal mutilations, cattle mutilations did. Also, too, I read in your paper and in books and things that the government, we'll use the government term loosely here, that someone really is trying to prepare the populace, the general populace, for the release of at least some of these facts that you have stated within our movies, such that some of the movies, do you agree with this?
Absolutely. In fact, I saw the contingency plan that called for that. It was actually called Majestic 12. It called for the release of supposedly authentic documents from the government stating that aliens were here. This was done, it was released by the research team of Moore, Chandray, and Friedman early in the 80s. And they were highly regarded in research circles as having done probably the best research in the UFO field, and it really uncovered quite a legitimate batch of facts that had enabled people to understand that, yes, there's something going on here. However, at some point in their career, they were recruited. They are government agents, or secret government agents, I should say. And I hope one of them sues me, because if we get in court, I then have the power of discovery, and I can subpoena documents from the government that I know exist. The documents that they have leaked out, purported to be a briefing paper for President Eisenhower, is totally fraudulent. It was prepared by the CIA under this contingency plan. The contingency plan called for this as a test of the reaction of the American public to the fact that an official-looking U.S. government document said that they were here. There's been little or no reaction, really, and they've had a TV show on the independent networks all over the United States called U.F.O. Cover-Up Live, which was a part of this contingency plan. There was very little reaction to that. In fact, the newspapers didn't even talk about the show, and actually the show did release approximately 40 to 50% of what they said on the show was true. The other 50 to 60% that they said is disinformation to keep you from learning the real truth, is that there's a lot of danger involved in this. A lot of uncertainty, and a lot of lies, and a lot of deception, and a lot of people getting hurt, a lot of people disappearing. At the same time, through very well-known advertising companies such as Gray Advertising in New York City, which is a really well-known CIA proprietary front. Bob Emenegger, one of the leading people in this field who has been leaking information out, used to be the head of Gray Advertising and is a CIA agent. They have been preparing commercials, which we've all seen on TV. Some of them blatantly admitting, although the people don't realize it, such as the Levi's Docker Slacks commercial, where the guy comes in and he says something about EB, and this other guy says, "What's an EB?" And he says, "Well, America is hosting EBs, and EB is short for extraterrestrial biological entity. And America is hosting EBs." And then everybody says, "EBs, GBs." Well, he's telling the truth. America is hosting EBs.
But it's cloaked in humor and disbelief.
Right, but they're preparing the public for the eventual confrontation with alien beings. The movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind was a true movie. The events that you saw in that movie, except for the finding of the ship in the desert and things like that, those events actually happened. They didn't happen exactly where they say it happened in the movie, They didn't all happen at one time, but there was a landing, there was a face-to-face confrontation, there was an agreement, there was an exchange of personnel. They took humans, we took aliens, to each learn about the other. The technical advisor on the film was Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who was the co-author of one of the documents that I read between 70 and 73, where I obtained this information while in the Navy, and that document was called Grudge 13. We're being bombarded. Every night on television you'll see probably at least 2 alien movies, at least a half a dozen alien commercials, and it's happening increasingly, more and more and more and more. And they are telling us both the good and the bad. The TV show War of the Worlds, which comes on every Saturday, is telling us an awful lot about the bad things that are happening. And a lot of what's in that show is the truth. The TV show, or the movie E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind are trying to show us some of the good things that are a part of it. The movie V, I believe, is trying to prepare us for what may be an eventuality in the future which may result in a confrontation between us and at least one species of these alien beings. So yes, the government is trying to prepare the populace. The populace is not even questioning this. They don't even say, why are we being flooded with all this alien stuff all of a sudden? I mean, it's in all the commercials, it's in all the movies, it's everywhere.
It is, everywhere.
Yes.
Every newsstand, every bookstore.
They actually showed a real picture of an EB in space aviation, or space technology, or aviation science and space technology. I think that's the name.
Philip Klass is the editor. Is that the one he's the editor of?
No, you're thinking of Aviation Week.
Okay.
Klass is the debunking expert.
Yes, I know.
He was
That's
the man.
why I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah.
But they actually showed a picture of a real one?
Yes, it was in an Amoco commercial, and it had the picture, and he's standing there, looks so lovable and innocent, creature with these big, beautiful eyes, and he's got his hand raised in the old time-honored gesture as, I come in peace, I bear no weapons, I'm your friend, etc., etc. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't.
Can we speak to that? You said there were 2 kinds, or more than one kind of extraterrestrial
Yes.
who has contacted Earth, okay?
Right.
And you say sometimes they come in peace, sometimes they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Could you speak a little bit to the 2 different kinds and peace or non-peace?
Sure.
In their intent, perhaps.
In the government's study of alien interaction with Homo sapiens on this planet, they were able to trace the interaction back through documents and through recorded history and through oral history of different peoples for over 25,000 years on this planet. The aliens themselves say that they created us by genetic manipulation of a man-like creature, which resulted in what we know as the Cro-Magnon man, and that's why, by the way, we cannot find the missing link between the ape and the human, because the missing link is alien. They say that they have been manipulating the human race, and we have found that this is true, through witchcraft, the occult, Satanism, secret societies, religion, and many other things throughout our history. Many of the wars that we have fought have been because of alien manipulation. There's something about war that fascinates them. In Vietnam, UFOs were common. Whole villages in Vietnam disappeared. And it wasn't because we did anything to them. They were taken by the aliens. As I said, they're mutilating cattle, they're mutilating humans. There are at least 4 different species or different races of aliens that I know of through the documents that I read between 70 and 73. One is what I call a large-nosed gray. They have a tremendously large nose, very aquiline nose. And that is the race that we had the treaty with. There is a smaller type of gray which the abductees report, and which is pictured on the front of Whitley Strieber's book called Communion.
Communion.
That's a very close resemblance. It's not quite right, but it's very close. And they seem to be something that was genetically created and cloned because they're all exactly alike. You can't tell one apart from the other. There is a race called the Nordic, which are described as being very human-like with blonde hair, which is probably why they're called the Nordic. And there is a race called the Orange, which are also described as being very human-like, and which have very red or orange-colored hair, and that's why they're called the Orange. One of these species we know is friendly and is very benevolent and is trying to prevent us from getting into trouble. Which race that is, I don't know. I do know that we're interacting with one of the races that are not so good.
Now, you mentioned a pact or a treaty between world governments, United States and world governments, and the extraterrestrials. What was stated in the pact, or basically the provisions of the pact? Summary.
Basically, the agreement stated that we wouldn't interfere in their affairs and they wouldn't interfere in ours. We were specifically interested that they not interfere in anything that would change or manipulate our future. That we would not disclose their presence on the earth to the people, or to the masses of people all around the world. That we would permit them to abduct humans on a periodic and limited basis for the purpose of medical examination and the monitoring of our development only. We've since found out that some of the people they abduct are never returned. Some of the people are mutilated exactly like the cattle and dumped on the ground exactly like the cattle. Some people are implanted with a device which gives the aliens complete control over that person. They can track them. They know where they are all the time. They can implant ideas into their head, which will cause them to carry out these ideas. They are repeatedly abducted over and over again and tested in some manner to find out just how far they can be pushed or controlled.
It's very frightening.
It is.
Very frightening.
And the government is so afraid of it, they've built concentration camps all over the United States over the years. They're each 1 mile square. And in the event that this becomes a danger, they have a contingency plan to suspend the Constitution, declare martial law, round up all these implanted people and put them in these concentration camps, along with what they call dissidents, which means anyone they choose, really. Because of what I'm doing, I'm sure I'll be one of them. I just hope that the camps are co-ed or they let me take Annie with me. That would certainly
have some company.
Right. Other parts of the agreement were that we would build underground bases for them to use. We did this in the Four Corners area of Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona. There is a jointly occupied base occupied by the United States and the aliens near the small city of Dulce. The base is actually under a place called Archuleta Mesa under the Jicarilla Apache Indian Reservation. There's another jointly occupied base in an area called S4 in the weapons test range in an area known as Area 51 or Dreamland, which is so super secret that the President of the United States has not got the clearance to go visit that facility. And everyone works there, gets their check from the Navy. The Navy has full operational control of all the alien projects. And the highest clearance is required. In fact, you have to have a presidential clearance, which is called a majestic clearance, to work in these areas.
This is very astounding, and unfortunately, we're running out of time. And I was trying to think of a really good question to ask you in matter of summary, but would you want to say maybe one, no more than 2 sentences for summary? Because then we're out of time, unfortunately.
Certainly, Edith. I think to summarize, it's important that you know that aliens are here, that they're real, UFOs are real, they're alien craft piloted by intelligent beings from somewhere else, not here, that the government knows about it, is interacting with these aliens and has been for many years, that we have derived technology from these aliens, and that the situation can be very dangerous. People need to know about it. They are abducting or kidnapping humans doing terrible things to them. They are doing this also with animals. And what I would say is wake up. Quit trusting the government because they're lying to you, not just about Iran-Contra, but probably about everything. There is a secret government and they are in control.
This is really very startling information that we're giving to our viewers today. And I do have a question. Unfortunately, we're just about out of time, but I'm going to ask the question anyway, and hopefully it will have a very short answer. Is there any way we could protect ourselves? Like, do UFOs just sweep down and get you, or?
I think the best way to protect yourself is, if you believe in God, say your prayers, educate yourself, because there's power in knowledge. Take away the secrecy, and that will make them weak. I think knowledge is really the key. Without that, we can't protect ourselves.
Thank you very much for appearing on the program today. I really appreciate it very much. And hopefully our viewers have really learned a lot and will start reading and educating themselves. I too believe in the power of knowledge, since I am an educator. And this is one reason why I am doing the program today, is to bring the information out. Now, I know this information is very startling, and you probably say, oh, this is just science fiction. And it might seem like that to you. But do read and research the subject. Don't have a closed mind. If you would like to have more information, be sure and watch at the end of the program, and there will be a post office box and a telephone number that you can either write or call. So I want to thank you again very much for appearing on the program, and I want to tell the viewers, do watch for future programs and educate yourself and gain all the knowledge that you can. Bye.